So obviously today we're going to just talk about social media because we seem to always come back to it on every single episode, don't we?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just start off with a bit of a blanket question, and then we'll just go off of that. So I wanted to know if you think social media is good for football, just as a whole. Do you think it's good for football?
No, I don't think so. I think it's caused a lot more problems than it has put things out. I guess in a sense it's media coverage and people can access information that they didn't used to. I mean, we'll know from when we were younger, it was say transfer rumors, it was all about getting a paper and reading it in the paper, or Sky Sports when
literally that was all you could do.
Sports said it's guaranteed it's going to happen. But now it's a rumor starts on Twitter, and then things get taken from Twitter, and then Sky go, oh, Sky sources, but you know that it's just some random guy who says that he's in the know and has information when it's not. So I think it's kind of ruined a little bit of credibility in some ways. I know that obviously some people have benefited it, and I guess in some ways, it is a good thing, but I think in the whole aspect of it, I think it has ruined it a little bit. I feel that players nowadays, I guess, you get to see a bit more of a human side from them because they do more question and answer things and more interactive things with, say, content creators and different things like that. But then at the same time, I feel like it's a little bit they don't really need to do it, and it's not really something when we were growing up, it was, I felt there was a bit of a mystery around footballers where it's and they hold quite a good status where it's oh, I wonder what they get up to and things like that. But now all the time it's just always Q&A, who's the fastest player in the squad, who's doing blah de blah. And I think, to be honest, they might get a bit sick of it, having these kind of social media things and these social media I guess it's media time, I'm guessing, for it. I don't know. I feel that some things they've benefited it from, obviously with regards to information and putting media out there, being able to see highlights of different leagues and of different players, and seeing players that you never really maybe heard of at some point. For instance, when Ronaldo signed for United, I didn't have a clue who he was, no idea. But then I think that gave a little bit more into the mystery of it. Whereas now it's oh, we found the next Mbappe, and it's Mbappe hasn't even finished doing what Mbappe is doing. How can there be a next one, kind of thing? So I get it, and it has its purpose, I suppose. But I just think on a whole, it's not really helped. I think if anything, it's made it a bit more toxic. It's made it a bit more, way more opinion based, because everyone's got a voice, and it's like we were talking about before. You can't have a discussion with someone over Twitter without it being get ratio, prick, or people saying random bollocks that doesn't even matter. And I think and I think it's also affected maybe players' mental health. I mean, when you see say racism, for instance, at the moment, I know that it's obviously it's not a plus, and you can't look at everything as a plus. However, you would have only really had racism within the stadium. That's when you would have heard the racism, or behind closed doors where you wouldn't hear it. Now it's everywhere. People are getting racist abuse from just having a bad game or doing something that people think that they shouldn't. And I think on a whole, it's just made it a little bit more, everyone's now susceptible to whoever's voice they want to put out there. So don't get me wrong, I think that there is pros and cons to it, and there's been positives to take from it. And I think that there's ways that social media has benefited, but on a whole, I don't think it has, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask.
What do you think? Because I know that I know everyone's different opinion, and people might think it's a really good thing because they get to see videos of their favorite footballers asking question and answers and being oh, I wish I knew that about them, and now I know. And I get that, but I think for me personally, I think you as a footballer, you should have a focus of being a footballer and putting your things towards that, rather than kind of being a personality, I guess. And I think that personality reflects on a pitch more than interviews and sit down and having question times and things like that. I don't know. I'm not. I mean, I'm kind of. I guess I'm a little bit old school in the sense of that. I think.
Yeah, I'm a bit like 50-50. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I think obviously, like you said, there's good aspects to it. But at the same time, like there's an equal amount of bad stuff about it. So like the accessibility is a good thing. So it's like if you're young and whatever, your favourite players, let's just say, for example, Declan Rice, because I know he's got quite a big like social media personality and like presence. So like you can sit like get to know things about him and see things that like, so the things that he does where he's like, oh, bagged the penalty, we won, blah blah blah, great game. That sort of stuff is fine, because it's like, I know you get interviews after the game and stuff, but it's like more of an insight into what he thinks about it.
Yeah.
But so like the accessibility is good, but I think the accessibility also comes with its like bad points, because like you said, you're more susceptible to people like hating on you basically.
Yeah.
And I think that like a lot of it as well is, let's use the players to drive our engagement. Because obviously social media is all about, okay, the more engagement you get, essentially, the more money you're going to make. So it's like, if we can do, I don't know, like teammates with Rashford and Lingard when they were teammates.
Yeah.
Do that, and then more people will be interested in us, and then they might. So it's like using the players for your own personal gain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it like there needs to be a bit of a balance of it, because there's like equal amounts of bad to there is good, but like accessibility is good, but some stuff that is accessible doesn't need to be accessible. It's like you said, when obviously we didn't have it. So like, even for example, now David Beckham doesn't have Twitter.
Yeah.
I know he's not a footballer anymore, but he is obviously, that's what he's famous for. And like I've been like, oh, right, I wish he would just get Twitter. So I know what he's thinking about on a day-to-day basis. Like obviously he has Instagram, but that's just pictures.
Yeah.
Put like stuff in a caption, but it doesn't give you like, for example, like if he was tweeting every 2 hours, you'd be like, right, okay, this is what I feel like I know David Beckham now.
Yeah.
But like mystery is a good thing, because it keeps your attention on them.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff that you don't know about them. So like I think there's probably, although the accessibility is good, like I say, there's just a little bit too much of it.
Yeah, I think it's, I think with like sport and everything, I think to be honest, the majority of sports, I think they've just gone into mad overdrive of social media, plug it, get on YouTube, put YouTube videos out with them, put question and answers, get them on a Twitter takeover or an Instagram takeover. And it's like I get it, like from a certain standpoint, I can completely understand, but I'm not going to lie to you, mate. I don't give a flying fuck what bloody Nemanja Matic's favourite food is. Like, I don't care, like, at all. What I care about is how good he's playing on the pitch. Like, and that's the long and short of it. But I don't know. I think it's just because, like, I do come from quite like we obviously come from, and we've been quite lucky to grow up in an age where we've transitioned. So we've had that
age is a big part.
Not having it, yeah, we've had it where not having it to now having it. We've looked at how it's gone. So I think we're in quite a good position with that. But yeah, I think that it does serve a purpose, and it has done a good purpose in certain aspects of the game. But at the same time, it's really kind of like ruined some things of social media. Like, for instance, I feel that like Roy Keane, for instance, I feel that Roy Keane has now been put in a position where he has to get social media. Like, so now he's got Instagram now, and it's a bit like, it's kind of now a little bit like you would then play on it, if that makes sense. Like, Roy Keane's a personality of he just doesn't give a shit. So now I feel like he's kind of been put in a place where he kind of has to do it, and now he's going to play off on that I don't give a shit kind of mentality.
Yeah, so it's not real.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm like. Like James Milner. James Milner's a perfect example. So boring James Milner was funny because it was taking James Milner, who you didn't know as a person, no one knew anything about him. Someone made a fan account of him just being really fucking boring for those who are listening and don't know what it is. And it made it funny because you could believe it. You could be like, I guarantee. Yeah, I can see that.
That's probably that's probably one of the most well put together accounts.
James Milner's now taken that and put that into his own life, and it's not funny. It's not. It's just not funny. Like, and people will go, "Oh, banter, James Milner's playing off on it," and it's like, but yeah, that's the whole point. He's not being him. He's playing off of someone else creating that image for him. So, and it just doesn't.
It makes him less boring because he's doing more stuff.
Yeah.
So like he's probably sitting at home thinking, "Oh, what can I do that's really boring that people would laugh at?" And that's the thing as well, is it changes everyone's personalities because it stops being something that you just do, and it becomes something that you do because you think other people will like it.
Like, for instance, like a good that's come from social media is like Rashford. Rashford using his platform to do the things that he's doing at the moment, and he's battering it, and fair play to him. Like, another one is maybe potentially like James Maddison, maybe. Like, you can just tell that he's a lad. You can tell
he's young as well, so he kind of and if he's friends with all the YouTubers and stuff, then it's a lot easier for him to do it.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I get, like I said, with interviews and stuff, I quite like he is a bit like how I feel like I would be, where it's not giving these robotic football answers of, oh yeah, we just have to do better. Oh, we'll show the fans we'll do better. Like, it's to the point. It's to what you actually feel emotionally, and that's the whole point of football. Football's emotional. So yeah, I feel like that the more we talk about it, the more I feel like there is some good. But then there's a part of me that's just a little bit like, I think it's more the fact of the more opinion-based stuff and the more like hate that people get and the things that they do. Also, a thing I don't like is now Gillette Soccer Saturdays and stuff for doing like soccer socials and bringing in these like influencers and YouTubers.
Copying Soccer AM.
Yeah, to talk about shit like that. And I'm like, I genuinely sit there and I think, who's actually watching this? Like, it was like when they did the transfer window and they brought in Big Zoo to talk about Liverpool transfers. And it was like,
do you know what that is though?
I'd rather listen to a mundane geezer who's worked on transfers for like 10 years, like of Liverpool, and listen to his opinion, rather than you bring on some guy who people just find funny and he's a bit of a personality.
That's what I mean with the engagement part. It's like, find whoever you can that is openly supportive of a certain team, and they will do it. It's like, do you know who Savage Dan is?
No, I know.
He's part of the Filthy Fellas, so like he's a massive Chelsea fan.
Oh, okay.
He's actually he works for Chelsea now.
Right.
He does like an unscripted podcast. He's the guy that always like he interviewed Billy Gilmore recently. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it's people like him, and like obviously you've got like Poet, and like Poet's a massive Arsenal fan. So
yeah,
obviously when they do it on their own channel, it's like these guys are getting views. How do we get more views? Because essentially, like, the YouTubers and that are taking the views away from the big companies.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, look, we need the views back. Let's take our views back from them, but also by using them, and then we'll just pay them. So then everyone wins.
Yeah, so, like, I get that.
But that's why, like, and obviously it's a digital age. So everyone needs to update their marketing strategies, everything like that. Social media is popping.
Well, yeah.
So it comes down to the thing of like, it's basically money, isn't it? Basically, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's like anything. It's like your team has an app now, so like team news pops up on your phone, so it's just there. And same with social media. You'll scroll through social media and you'll get people tweeting stuff out constantly about things and like Instagram stories and stuff like that. And like I said, I get it, like completely, I get it, but I kind of miss the whole thing of not knowing it and then just watching Sky Sports when your team's on and being like, team sheets are in and going, all right, here we go. And now it's like leaked team news 4 hours early, and then you're like, oh, great, okay, well, I know the team.
But like, you're right.
I like the thrill of sitting there and being like, I'm gonna guess the team, and then when it comes, you're like, knew it.
And someone's not playing. You're like, why the hell is he not playing? You don't get a thing beforehand where it's like, oh, he's not playing because he's injured.
But it's the same as like transfers. Transfers, when it was like, you wouldn't hear anything of it because there's nothing where it pops up on Twitter. It's like talks for this player, talks now going on, 48 hours until da-da-da. It's like when we were younger, it was look at the back page. Oh shit! United have just signed Berbatov. Like, where did that come from? Like,
or and Sky Sports News. Sky Sports News was massive. Deadline day.
No, Sky Sports News was like, if you saw it on Sky, you were like,
this is legit.
Yeah, banging. That's happening. But now you see it on Sky, and it's like, yeah, okay, where did you get that source from? Because I read the same thing like 4 days ago. So
that's why you're right about the whole credibility thing. Is it's like, because people will take things and run with it. Like, if someone goes, if I see a tweet, for example, that goes, Messi's done at Barcelona, he wants to sign for Chelsea. Anyone can say that. Anyone can say that. But if I see that in writing, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, hold on a minute. And that's why like the whole thing of like fake news is a thing now.
Yeah. Well, and it's like with like newspapers and stuff, like before, there was obviously the phrase of, if you put Man United in a headline, it sells.
Yeah.
Now it's put Man United in any headline on Twitter or social media, you're going to get clicks. Everyone's going to look at it. So that's why all the time, if I see on Twitter us getting linked to a player, I don't believe it, because I'm like, you're literally just using us just so people go, oh, what, Man United want him? Because then if we don't sign him, it's, oh, he rejected you. He didn't want to play for you. And it was like, maybe we weren't ever in for him.
Yeah.
Like
with bigger teams, it's a lot easier though, mate. It's like anything on like YouTube, for example.
Yeah.
Like, if I could think of like a title for even this episode that could provoke, you have to provoke things, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get people to click on it. So that makes sense. Like, for example, if I go, this is the episode, FT KSI.
Yeah.
It's going to get way more views than if I just say it's
so
me.
many more views.
And just put him in the thumbnail and that's it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's the whole, and this is why I think social media and football's a load of bots, like clickbait.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, but I remember someone popped up on Snapchat where it was like talking about, this gun is now banned on Warzone, and I was like, oh, why is it banned? And I flicked through, weren't banned at all.
Yeah, there's no information on what you actually got nerfed for.
Like, getting nerfed and getting banned is two completely different words.
I think that just to kind of go off the back of this, like with accessibility and stuff, one bad thing, because obviously we're talking about like good and bad, but like, is the fact that players now have more of a chance to incriminate themselves.
Yeah.
So like, and it's the whole thing of like being cancelled. So for example, like Cavani recently.
Yeah.
Said something that is in his native language, which is Spanish or whatever, and everyone took it as like, hold on a minute, this is a bit mad. And then he had to apologise for it. So I wanted to know as well, like, what you think about, I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but that kind of ties it in now. So what do you think about players apologising on Twitter? Not just for stuff like that, but for stuff like, for example, if they lose and they come out and they're like, oh, sorry, boys, like, we should have done this, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about that?
I hate it. No, I hate it. Like, why should you feel like you have to apologise to people?
Yeah, see, that's one part of social media that I think is not needed.
No, just because you've lost a game, why do you have to feel like you've got to come out and apologise to us? Unless it's like embarrassing, like to the point where it's like Spurs 6-1. Like, I know that Martial got sent off, and say what you want, but a player getting sent off is a deciding factor within a game. Like, hands down, it is. Like, that's it. Obviously doesn't ease the blow, because even if it's 2-1 or 6-1, you still lose. But 2-1's obviously a better loss than 6-1. Yeah. Like, so it's like with the Spurs game 6-1. That's embarrassing. Like, if, like, for instance, us beating Southampton, I get that they were like 9 men or whatever and 10 men for most of the game. If it was me, the young lad that got sent off, I'd straight away come on social media and be like, oh, man's up, I was the difference. Because obviously if you get sent off from the first minute, it might be your fault that it's ended up that way, and you'll probably take it as it is your fault. So to come out and apologise, yeah, fair enough. Like, fine. But if you lose a game like 1-0 because of like, you just didn't play very well, you don't need to apologise. Just go away, go train harder, and go show it on the pitch again. I can't stand when people say, oh, well, like, you've just got to, we need to get better. We know to get better. Okay, well, you play football more times a week than I pretty much go to work. So what the fuck are you doing that isn't making you play better? Like, and I get that coaching instruction comes into it, like we've talked about before, and managers telling you what to do does come into it. But also as a player, you've got to look at yourself and be like, right, this isn't going well. What am I doing wrong? Like, and what are we doing wrong as a collective? Because you can have a manager that would give you pitch perfect instructions, but you've still got to execute it as a player. Like, and you've still got to go out and do your bit. So if you as a collective aren't doing your bit, you need to look at yourselves. Like, no, we don't want your apologies. Like, we just want to see it
results
on the pitch. Yeah, we want to see it. Like, I don't want, and also like
go on.
with the Cavani thing, it's in his language. English isn't his first speaking language. Everybody knows this. So why does he have to apologize for something that isn't even remotely racist? It's just because a certain few people went, well, that's racist, and then he's got to apologize for it. But if people were culturally aware, they'd know that that isn't racist at all.
Because everyone that was saying that it was racist isn't even Spanish. So how do you know? Like, if you don't fully understand something, you can't really have an opinion on it, in my view.
No.
Like, so, but the thing is, you're right. As soon as it comes out that something might be offensive, and I'm not saying that it wasn't offensive. Like, for me, it wasn't. Like, I'm not offended by it, but other people might be. Like, I get that, but like, yeah, it's like the whole understanding thing plays a big part in it. But do you think, like, when they come out and apologise for stuff, like for example, a bad game, bad performance, do you think it's a defence mechanism? Because it's almost like, you know, when people say, like, they'll be like, oh, you can't, for example, make fun of me for something if I say it first. So if I go, I've got a massive head, for example, which I have this beanie on, you can't then come to me and go, your head's massive, because I'm like, I've already said that. Like, I know.
Yeah, I've already said. Yeah.
So like, if they come out and they go, okay, look, it was my mistake for the goal, whatever, I shouldn't have done that, I should have done this instead. Then no one can be like all they can really say in the replies is, yeah, you should.
Yeah.
So I think like that. But the thing is, the fact that they feel like they have to do that is a problem.
Yeah, but then it's also,
I'm going to get rinsed.
But then it's also like, to counter that, it's also people just, for some reason, and I don't know why, love to be trolls. They love it. They love trolling people, and it's like, even if, say, Martial scored tonight and we won the game, even though he's not playing, like, I don't think anyway. Even if he scored a goal to win the game tonight against Sociedad, he will still get people under his mentions being like, didn't ask, or like pictures of him missing, like, and stuff like that. And it's like, you're bantering him for scoring. He's just scored a goal to win us the game, and you're still going to banter him for missing chances. Like, and I think, you know, people have just got to consider, like, more than anything, is you do realize they're people that just kick a ball really well. Like, that's it. They're just people that kick a ball really well, and they're in a position where they can't help what they get paid. They can't help the team they play for if that's the club that wanted their services. Like, it's like with any job. Like, I can't turn around to you and make fun of your job and what you do at your job. Like, why? Like, so why do people do it for footballers?
Do you know what I think would help that? If Twitter removed the like button.
Yeah.
And if they just had it as retweet, so it's like, okay, if you really believe this, you can tweet it too. But you can't like anything that anyone else says, because like, I think that stops a lot of the hate.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like, I've done it before, like, not with hate, but like, you'll quote something and be like, okay, I think this is funny or whatever, or you'll go in the replies and be like, I can get a laugh here because this has already got a shitload of likes and retweets. So how many people are going to see this? And if it's funny, I might get more followers, I might get more, like, just engagement to my page.
Yeah.
If you remove that aspect of it and you just have like some other metric where you can measure engagement just by people visiting the tweet. I know they already do that anyway, and like profile clicks or whatever. Then I think that removes like a good percentage of the bad stuff that people say.
Yeah, I think that it's like we've said before, it's with social media and Twitter and stuff, everyone has a voice. Like, so, and you can't mute it because they'll just make another account and start.
Can you turn off replies?
Pardon?
Can you turn off replies? You can't turn off replies, can you?
Potentially. I know that there's a few football accounts I've come across that I've banned.
Because I know, like, with YouTube, for example, if you post a video that's a bit provocative, you can turn the comments off.
Yeah.
People can't comment on it. So if you could do that with like tweets, like, and Instagram posts,
I'm sure you can. I'm pretty sure
you must be able to. But
I'm pretty sure.
Like,
but then it comes back to our original point, though. It comes back to people won't turn comments off of stuff because people are interacting. So it doesn't matter how much shit that's getting spread or how much toxicity it is. It's like the old phrase, isn't it? Like bad press is still press. Like it doesn't matter if it's bad, it's still gaining attention. And like there's a few accounts that I've blocked recently because I don't want it on my timeline because it's negative and it's just bollocks. It's just absolute shit and drivel. And there was one that I looked at last night that I blocked, that I was reading under the comments and how people were just blindly going, yeah, absolutely. And it was like, you're just a sheep. It's like, you're doing this just so you feel noticed and you feel like the person who's spouting this is going to notice you. And I think that's a big part in it. I think that people with social media, it's connected people, but I also think it's made people have a bit of a complex and it's made them feel inferior because of how many people have it. So because of how many people have it, like, for instance, people will moan that Justin Bieber might tweet bye and gets like 50,000 retweets and whatever. And I think that makes people feel inferior because they could do the same and not get the same response. But I think people need to realize where you are within the social hierarchy in the world and have that humbling.
Yeah,
and I think it does.
Because that doesn't change regardless of whether you sat on Twitter or not.
No, and it doesn't. And I think it does. It makes people feel inferior of the fact that you've got this voice, but you still can't be heard. Or you have this voice and you just want to be noticed. So you'll put stuff to try and get noticed, and you'll put bad shit to get noticed. And the fact that then that gets people's attention because then they're going back out and going, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. They'll still keep spouting it because it's like, people are noticing me now. People are going to talk, and then
like I get hate back or people agree. Like either way, it's good.
Yeah,
but the thing, like what I've noticed about social media is that like the people that ultimately win have something that they're really good at and that they're actually famous for. Apart from like, even with like Boring James Milner, that account got so popular because it was funny.
Yeah.
So like, there's always like an underlying reason of like, there's no. I mean, to be honest, it's annoying because like troll accounts can get the same amount of followers and likes and stuff as someone that's actually genuinely doing something that's good.
Yeah.
That's the worst part about it. Like, an account could be as famous as Justin Bieber just by saying that like everyone's a dickhead.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to when I watched Kevin Hart on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was like, it's not cool to be positive. Like it's like the hip thing is to be negative, and just spread negativity and like spread these bullshit like things about it, and I'm not for it, man. Like if like at the end of the day, like I might sound a bit hypocritical because I quote tweet stuff and I put my thing in, but like I do it within a reason of like be fair about it. Like
the thing is, is that even your fault? Because that's the culture that's been built.
Not particularly,
because like
but
at a certain point you're like indirectly doing it. You don't even know you're doing it.
No.
Like so maybe a lot of these people don't even really know that they're doing it and they're not doing it on purpose.
Yeah. I think
it's a tough one with like trolls and stuff, but to like just add to it. I don't know if they already do, but if they don't, how do you feel about players getting like social media training? Because for example, let's just say when you're in the academy, right? You go like, I don't know, once a week or something, you just get all the players together and you just talk to them about what like social media is and how to react to stuff that you see on there. Because I know that like let's say, for example, singers, actors, they all get media training. So because they're doing so many interviews. I mean, it might be the same with footballers anyway, like because they do interviews. But social media is a bit different. So I don't know if they actually get social media training or not, but do you think that would be a good idea?
I don't think there's any amount of training that can teach how you can take things and how you can take comments and how you can take hate, like, and a fluctuation of hate as well. Like, it's not just the odd comment here and there. It's probably multiple. Like, so if you've got to sit and you've got to read through that, like, I don't really care who you are as a person. At some form, it will get to you.
No, I get that. Like the training if they had training, it wouldn't make anything hurt less.
No, it doesn't mask it. No, it might do, but
what about in that case then? What about them having the ability to control their own social medias? Because some famous people don't control their own social medias. So
no,
realistically, if they don't see bad comments.
It might be worth it to get someone to run their social medias and stuff, but then I don't feel like they should be obligated to have a social media platform. Like, I don't think they should. Like, I think that there should be an option that if you are a young footballer and you're upcoming and you don't want a social media page, you have the complete obligation to say no. Like, and I don't want it. And you know, if you want to go through and only do things for your club's social media in that sense, because it's only really people who are fans of the club that follow it, then yeah, you can do that absolutely. But I think to have your own would be a bit shite. I think.
Do you think it's hard to not have social media though when you're that like famous, when you're that popping? Like even if you're an academy player, you can still show off.
No, I think that it's more to do with marketing. I think that you could have. I think for your own personal benefit, you could easily just get rid of it and switch off. But I think it's more people have it because.
Do you think they get told to make it?
Yeah, I think it's like you brought up before. I think because of the way social media is now, and it is an age where you kind of need it for advertising and marketing and things like that, and to build your brand of who you are. I think that they're pretty much made to do it. I mean, like, mate, I've and ahed about, like, I deleted Facebook years ago, and it was one of the best things I ever did. Like, I know I've never looked back. I've never once thought I'll get it back. Like, I couldn't give any less of a shit about it. To be honest, Instagram, I can kind of take it or leave it. Really, like, I'm not too bothered by it.
Different though, isn't it?
I guess so. I think Instagram out of everything would be the one I mainly keep, just because I've got like photos on there anyway, and they're old ones, so it's nice to look back at stuff. And
that's
also,
the thing.
like,
It's more of a thing of like memories, not just what your day-to-day opinion is.
Whereas like Twitter has been the one that I've really conflicted, like, with myself to get rid of, because on one hand, it's really funny. Like, some of the things that pop up on my thing really does make me laugh, and like things like that. But the problem is then, on the other hand, you then can't avoid certain stuff that pops up. Like, you can block it and things like that, but stuff will always creep back in. Like, and I don't know. It's just one of those where it's been like, I feel like I would want to get rid of it to like leave a bit more of an element of things like that. But then, because we do this and like, it's good for like research as well, and having a look at points and what people think and things like that. But then at the same time, it's one of those where it's like, I kind of wish I don't have it at the same time.
Yeah, but do you know what's mad? Is that, like, obviously my social media is not, like, I don't really go on it that much. So like, whenever if I say to someone that I don't have Twitter, they'll be like, "What?
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? You don't have Twitter?"
Yeah.
Or they're always like, "You should make Twitter. You should blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, obviously I do have it. I just don't tell them about it. But like,
yeah.
That I find that mad. Like, because like even not having it makes you a bit of a black sheep. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. It does. Like, people look at you like really weird. That like,
it's mad, isn't it?
You're like an alien. Like, what do you do then? How do you communicate? And it's like, well, I think like we're different in an aspect because we don't have loads of friends. Like, we only have like a handful. So the people that I want to speak, well, the people I want to speak to, I have their number, so I just talk to them. Like, Twitter for me isn't to reach out to people and let people know what I'm thinking. It's literally for my benefit. Like, it's for me. Like, it's not for you. Like, if you don't want to look at what I'm retweeting and what I'm saying on my Twitter, then don't follow me. Like, I'm not doing it for you, and I'm not doing it to keep you guys updated on my life. I'm doing it because I find shit funny, so I'll put shit that I think is funny on my Twitter, and I'll say stuff that I think's funny at the time or whatever I'm thinking at the time, and put it on my thing. And if you don't like it, tough shit. Like, you don't have to follow me. Like, it's fine. But like, I more don't like the whole aspect of Twitter where people make something and they make an account to push their narrative, like, and they push it out, like, and they make their opinion. So it's like, this is it. This is like the facts, and it's
They
like,
try and
no,
turn their opinion into a fact.
yeah, and it's like, you know, you've got your opinion, and that's fine. You're completely entitled to it, but it doesn't mean that it's right. Like, it's an
I think
opinion.
that's the thing, innit? It's like everything's subjective, especially on social media, because obviously, like, all you've really got is your opinion. Thanks for listening, as always. If you have listened, if this is on YouTube and you're watching it, make sure you go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Bang, we need a little bit more of listening time over there. You know what I mean?
We do indeed.
Drop a like. Do it when you're just working out. You know what I mean? Even if you're kicking a football, just listen to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, make sure, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, like it, subscribe it, all that stuff. And then we'll see you next week.
All right. Peace.
Peace.